Marcus Chen was standing in line at a small bakery in Brooklyn when he overheard the conversation that would change everything. A young mother was quietly canceling her son's birthday cake order, her voice breaking as she said, "I'm so sorry. I just can't afford it right now." Marcus had walked into Sweet Dreams Bakery purely by accident. His driver was stuck in traffic, and Marcus needed coffee. At 52 years old, the tech billionaire rarely found himself in neighborhood bakeries anymore. He usually sent assistants for things like this. But today, fate had different plans. The bakery was small and cozy, with the sweet smell of vanilla and chocolate filling the air. Display cases showed beautifully decorated cakes and cookies. A few customers waited in line, scrolling through their phones or chatting quietly. Marcus stood behind a woman who looked to be in her early 30s. She wore scrubs, the kind nurses wear, and her shoulders were slumped with exhaustion. Her brown hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she gripped her purse tightly as she spoke to the baker behind the counter. "I'm really sorry, Mrs. Rodriguez," the woman said, her voice trembling. "I know I ordered the Spider-Man cake 3 weeks ago for Tommy's birthday, but I can't pick it up." Mrs. Rodriguez, an elderly woman with kind eyes and flour-dusted hands, looked concerned. "Sarah, honey, is everything okay?" Sarah, that was her name, shook her head, fighting back tears. "My car broke down last week. The repair cost ate up everything I'd saved for Tommy's party. I barely have enough for rent now. I can't justify spending $60 on a cake when we need that money for food." Marcus felt something tighten in his chest. He watched as Sarah wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed that strangers might see her crying. "Tommy's turning 7 tomorrow," Sarah continued, her voice barely a whisper. "I promised him a Spider-Man cake. He's been talking about it for weeks. But I'll just make him cupcakes at home. He'll understand." Mrs. Rodriguez reached across the counter and squeezed Sarah's hand. "Don't you worry about the deposit. Honey, you keep that money. And I'll make those cupcakes for you. No charge." "I can't accept that," Sarah said, fresh tears spilling over. "You've been so kind already." "You're a good mother, Sarah," Mrs. Rodriguez said firmly. "Tommy is lucky to have you." Sarah nodded, thanked her, and turned to leave. As she walked past Marcus, he saw the pain in her eyes, the kind of pain that comes from working so hard and still not being enough, from wanting to give your child a world, but only being able to offer love. Something inside Marcus cracked open. He thought about his own childhood, about the single mother who'd raised him in a tiny apartment in Queens, working 3 jobs to keep food on the table. He remembered the birthday when he'd turned 8, when his mother had cried because she couldn't afford a real cake, only a package of store-bought cookies with a candle stuck in the middle. Marcus had promised himself that day that when he grew up, he'd make sure no child ever had to see their mother cry over something as simple as a birthday cake. He'd kept that promise by building his fortune, by donating millions to charities. But when was the last time he'd actually looked someone in the eye and helped them directly? When was the last time he'd been present for someone's pain instead of just writing a check? Marcus stepped up to the counter as Sarah left the bakery. Mrs. Rodriguez looked at him expectantly. "I'd like to pay for that Spider-Man cake," Marcus said quietly. "The one she just canceled. And I'd like to do something more." Mrs. Rodriguez's eyes widened. "You heard all that?" "I did. And I'd like to help. What's the boy's full name? And where can I find them?" Mrs. Rodriguez studied him carefully. Marcus knew what he looked like. Expensive suit, designer watch, the unmistakable air of wealth. He probably seemed suspicious, or like he had ulterior motives. "Why would you do this?" Mrs. Rodriguez asked. "Because someone once did something similar for me," Marcus said simply, "and because every child deserves to feel special on their birthday, especially when they have a mother who loves them enough to sacrifice everything." Mrs. Rodriguez's expression softened. She glanced toward the door where Sarah had disappeared, then back at Marcus. "Her last name is Mitchell. Sarah Mitchell. She works at Brooklyn General Hospital, night shift. Lives in the apartments on 7th Avenue. Mrs. Rodriguez paused. But Mr. Chen, Marcus Chen. Recognition flashed across her face. The Marcus Chen? The tech billionaire? Just a man who wants to help, Marcus said. Can you tell me what time Tommy's birthday party is tomorrow? Mrs. Rodriguez smiled, tears forming in her kind eyes. 2 o'clock, apartment 4C. But, sir, just the cake would be. I'd like to do more than just the cake, Marcus interrupted gently. If you'll trust me, I promise I'll make tomorrow special for that little boy. And for his mother. Mrs. Rodriguez nodded slowly. She's been through so much. Her husband left when Tommy was 2. She works herself to the bone to provide for that boy. She deserves a miracle. Then let's give her one, Marcus said. Marcus spent the rest of that afternoon learning Sarah Mitchell's story. He made phone calls, talked to Mrs. Rodriguez, and even spoke briefly with Sarah's landlord. The picture that emerged broke his heart. Sarah was 29 years old, a licensed practical nurse who worked 60-hour weeks at Brooklyn General. She'd married young to a man who seemed charming at first, but turned out to be irresponsible and unfaithful. When Tommy was 2, her husband left for another woman, leaving Sarah with a toddler, mountains of debt, and no child support. For 5 years, Sarah had worked tirelessly. She took every extra shift available, survived on 4 hours of sleep, and devoted every free moment to Tommy. She never bought herself new clothes, never went out with friends, never took a vacation. Everything she earned went to rent, food, Tommy's school supplies, and keeping their tiny apartment warm in winter. Last month, her 12-year-old car had finally given up. The transmission needed replacing, costing $1,500, money Sarah didn't have. She'd been taking the bus to work, adding an extra hour to her already exhausting commute. The money she'd saved for Tommy's birthday party went to car repair, and still, she came up short. Marcus sat in his penthouse that evening, looking out at the Manhattan skyline, thinking about Sarah on the night shift at the hospital. While he slept in luxury, she was checking vitals, comforting patients, and probably worried about how to make her son's birthday special with no money and no cake. He thought about his own mother, Rosa Chen, who died 10 years ago. She'd lived just long enough to see his company go public, to know that her sacrifices hadn't been in vain. But she'd spent most of her life struggling, just like Sarah was struggling now. Marcus pulled out his phone and called his assistant. Julie, I need you to clear my schedule for tomorrow afternoon, and I need some help organizing something special. Of course, Mr. Chen. What kind of event? A birthday party for a 7-year-old boy who deserves to know there's still goodness in the world. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the bakery at 7 a.m. Mrs. Rodriguez was already there, baking. The Spider-Man cake sat on the counter, 3 layers, perfectly decorated, with Spider-Man swinging between buildings made of frosting. It's beautiful, Marcus said. Tommy will love it, Mrs. Rodriguez replied. But Mr. Chen, what else are you planning? You had that look yesterday, like you were going to do something big. Marcus smiled. Is it too much to want a child to have the birthday party he dreams about? Not too much, but be careful. Sarah's proud. She won't accept charity easily. It's not charity, Marcus said. It's kindness. There's a difference. For the next several hours, Marcus worked with a speed and efficiency that had built his billion-dollar empire. He rented a small community room in Sarah's apartment building. He hired decorators who transformed it into a Spider-Man wonderland. Red and blue balloons, a wall-sized Spider-Man banner, themed plates and napkins, even a person dressed up as Spider-Man himself. He ordered pizza, chicken tenders, fruit platters, and juice boxes. He bought gifts, action figures, art supplies, books, a new bicycle. He invited Tommy's classmates by calling the school and getting a list from the teacher. And finally, at 1:30 p.m., he stood in the decorated room and waited. At 2 o'clock, Sarah walked down the hallway toward her apartment with Tommy. Marcus watched from the community room doorway as she held her son's hand, both of them carrying grocery bags with supplies for homemade cupcakes. "I know you wanted the Spider-Man cake, baby," Sarah was saying, her voice apologetic. "But Mommy's cupcakes are pretty good too, right?" "It's okay, Mom," Tommy said, trying to sound brave even though his disappointment was obvious. "I like your cupcakes." Sarah's face crumpled with guilt. She stopped in the hallway, kneeling down to hug her son. "I'm sorry I couldn't give you the party you wanted, but I promise next year." "Mrs. Mitchell?" Marcus stepped out of the community room. Sarah jumped, startled. She pulled Tommy closer protectively. "Can I help you? My name is Marcus Chen. I was in the bakery yesterday. I heard you talking to Mrs. Rodriguez." Sarah's face flushed with embarrassment. "Oh, that's private." "I know, and I apologize for overhearing, but I'd like to show you something. Both of you." Marcus opened the community room door. Sarah and Tommy stared in shock at the scene before them. The room was transformed into a Spider-Man paradise. Balloons covered the ceiling. A huge banner read, "Happy 7th Birthday, Tommy," in bold letters. Tables were decorated with red and blue tablecloths, loaded with food. And in the center of everything sat the Spider-Man cake, the exact cake Sarah had canceled. What is this?" Sarah whispered. "Spider-Man." Tommy shrieked, pointing at the person dressed in the full Spider-Man costume, who waved at him enthusiastically. "This is Tommy's birthday party," Marcus said simply. Sarah's hands flew to her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. "I don't understand. Why would you?" "Because every child deserves to feel special on their birthday," Marcus said. "And because I know what it's like to have a mother who sacrifices everything, but still feels like it's not enough." Tommy looked up at his mother, confused by her tears. "Mommy, why are you crying? Is this real?" Sarah knelt down and hugged her son tightly. "Yes, baby, it's real. It's all real." The doorbell rang. Marcus opened it to find a group of children from Tommy's class, dropped off by their parents of party. They poured in, shouting with excitement, surrounding Tommy with birthday wishes. Sarah stood frozen, watching her son's face light up with pure joy as his friends arrived. Spider-Man high-fived each kid. Music started playing. Children laughed and ran around, and Tommy stood in the middle of it all, beaming like the sun itself. "I can't accept this," Sarah said, turning to Marcus. "This is too much. I don't even know you." "You don't have to know me," Marcus said gently. "And you're not accepting charity. You're accepting kindness from someone who understands." "Understands what?" "What it's like to watch your mother cry because she can't afford a birthday cake. What it's like to tell yourself it doesn't matter when it does. What it's like to love your child so much that you'd give anything, but feel like you have nothing to give." Sarah's tears fell harder now. "How do you know?" "Because I was Tommy once," Marcus said. "And my mother was you. She worked 3 jobs. She missed sleep. She sacrificed everything. And on my 8th birthday, she cried because all she could afford was a package of cookies from the dollar store." Sarah covered her face with her hands, sobbing quietly. "I became successful," Marcus continued. "I made more money than I could ever spend. But I forgot something important. I forgot that the biggest impact we can make isn't measured in millions donated to faceless charities. It's measured in moments like this. In looking someone in the eye and saying, 'I see you. I see your struggle. And you're not alone.'" Sarah looked up at him, mascara running down her cheeks. "Thank you. I don't know how to thank you enough." "Just watch your son be happy," Marcus said. "That's all the thanks I need." They stood together, watching Tommy play with his friends, Spider-Man leading a conga line around the room. Tommy laughed so hard he could barely breathe, his face flushed with excitement. When it came time to cut the cake, all the children gathered around. Tommy made a wish and blew out the candles. Everyone sang happy birthday. And when Tommy took his first bite of the Spider-Man cake, he declared it the best cake he'd ever tasted. After the party ended and the guests left, Sarah helped Tommy open his gifts. When he found the bicycle, he gasped, "Mom, Mom, look, a real bike." Sarah looked at Marcus with tears in her eyes again. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," Marcus said. "Every kid should have a bike." Tommy hugged the bicycle, then ran to Marcus and hugged his legs. "Thank you, Mr. Marcus. This is the best birthday ever." Marcus knelt down, looking the boy in the eye. "You have a wonderful mother, Tommy. She works very hard because she loves you. Don't ever forget that." "I won't," Tommy promised. "She's the best mom in the whole world." Sarah broke down completely then, crying tears of relief and gratitude and overwhelming love for the stranger who'd given her son a miracle. 3 days later, Sarah showed up at Marcus's office building. The receptionist called up, surprised that this woman in nursing scrubs was asking for the Billionaire CEO. But Marcus told him to send her right up. When Sarah walked into his office, she looked nervous. "I'm sorry to just show up like this. I tried calling, but—" "Please sit," Marcus said, gesturing to a chair. "I'm glad you came." Sarah sat on the edge of the chair, clutching her purse. "I needed to thank you properly. What you did for Tommy. I've never seen him so happy. He's been talking about it nonstop. He tells everyone about the Spider-Man party and the nice man who made it happen." "How is he?" Marcus asked, smiling. "He's wonderful. He's been riding that bike every day after school, and he keeps asking when he can thank you again." Sarah paused, taking a breath. "But Mr. Chen, I also came because I need to pay you back. I don't know how much everything costs, but I want to set up a payment plan. I can do $20 a week until—" "Sarah, stop," Marcus said gently. "This wasn't a loan. I don't want your money. But it's not right. You spent hundreds of dollars on someone you don't even know. I did it because I wanted to, because I could, and because in some small way I was doing for Tommy what I wish someone had done for me and my mother." Sarah's eyes filled with tears again. "Your mother would be proud of you." "I hope so," Marcus said. "She died 10 years ago. Sometimes I wonder if I honored her memory the right way. I built a successful company. I donated money, but I forgot to be present. I forgot that the most important thing she taught me wasn't how to survive. It was how to care." "She taught you well," Sarah said softly. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Marcus leaned forward. "Sarah, can I ask you something? Why do you work yourself so hard? I learned you work 60 hours a week, sometimes more." "Because I have to," Sarah said. "Tommy deserves a good life. He deserves opportunities one never had. If I work hard enough, maybe he won't have to struggle like I did." "He already has the most important thing," Marcus said. "He has a mother who loves him more than anything. That's worth more than all the money in the world." Sarah smiled through her tears. "Sometimes I worry it's not enough." "It's more than enough," Marcus assured her. "But I'd like to help, if you'll let me. Not with money, with opportunity." "What do you mean?" "My company has a nursing staff. We provide health care for our employees. I'd like to offer you a position, better hours, better pay, and benefits that include child care assistance. You'd work normal shifts instead of nights. You'd have time to actually see your son grow up." Sarah's mouth fell open. "Mr. Chen, I can't." "Yes, you can. You're qualified. You're hardworking. And you deserve a break. Sarah, you deserve to breathe." Sarah put her face in her hands and cried. Marcus waited patiently, letting her process. "Why are you doing this?" Sarah finally asked. "Why me?" "Because someone should have done it for my mother," Marcus said quietly. "She died young because she worked herself to death. She never got to enjoy life, never got to rest. And I don't want that for you. I don't want Tommy to lose his mother because she was too exhausted to take care of herself." Sarah looked up at him with gratitude shining in her eyes. "I'll take the job. Thank you. Thank you so much." 6 months later, Marcus received an invitation to Tommy's school for a special presentation. When he arrived, He found Sarah and Tommy waiting in the auditorium. "What's this about?" Marcus asked. "You'll see," Sarah said, smiling mysteriously. Tommy's class presented reports on their personal heroes. When it was Tommy's turn, he stood at the front of the room holding a poster board covered with photos, including one of Marcus at the birthday party. "My hero is Mr. Marcus," Tommy said proudly. "He showed me that there are good people in the world who help others just because they care. When I grow up, I want to be like him. I want to help people too." Marcus felt tears burn his eyes. In the audience, Sarah was crying too, but she was smiling. After the presentation, Tommy ran up to Marcus and hugged him. "You're my hero, Mr. Marcus." Marcus hugged him back, thinking about his own mother, about the little boy he'd once been who needed someone to show him kindness. He thought about how one birthday party had become so much more a job opportunity, a new friendship, a reminder of what really mattered. "You're going to do great things, Tommy," Marcus said. "I believe in you." As they walked out of school together, Marcus, Sarah, and Tommy, Marcus realized something profound. For years, he'd measured his success in stock prices and profit margins. But this, helping the small family, being present in their lives, making a real difference, this was the truest measure of success. Sarah looked at him as they reached the parking lot. "You changed our lives, Marcus. I don't know how to ever repay you." "You don't have to repay me," Marcus said. "Just promise me something. Anything. When Tommy grows up and becomes successful, and I know he will, make sure he remembers where he came from. Make sure he knows that real wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in kindness, in showing up, in seeing someone who's struggling and choosing to help." "I promise," Sarah said. Marcus watched him drive away in Sarah's repaired car, another gift he quietly arranged, and felt a peace he hadn't known in years. That evening, he stood in his penthouse looking at the framed photo on his desk, his mother, Rosa, smiling despite years of hardship. He picked it up and whispered, "I finally understand, Mom. It was never about making money. It was about making moments matter." His phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Tommy wanted me to tell you good night. He says you're the best friend we ever had." Marcus smiled, tears running down his face. He'd spent decades building an empire, but this friendship with a struggling nurse and her son felt like the most important thing he'd ever built. Because sometimes life doesn't give us opportunities to change the world. It gives us opportunities to change someone's world. And in doing so, we discover that we've changed our own. The greatest act of success isn't climbing to the top. It's reaching down and pulling someone up with you. It's remembering where you came from and making sure others don't have to struggle alone. That's not just kindness. That's legacy. And that's the kind of wealth that never runs out. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video. It helps us share more beautiful stories like this one. Oh, also, don't forget to subscribe for more emotional stories about love, kindness, and fate. Thank you for watching.